I still remember the harsh spotlight beating down on the stage. My hands were steady, but my heart pounded against my ribs like a trapped bird. The annual Tech Vision conference was packed with reporters, investors, and eager faces, all waiting for our big announcement. As Chief Technology Officer of NeuroSpark, I had spent 3 years building our AI platform from scratch. My creation was finally ready to launch. But when CEO Marcus stepped to the microphone, his smile didn't reach his eyes. "Before we unveil our breakthrough product, I need to make an important announcement," he said, voice amplified across the silent hall. "Effective immediately, Dr. Elena Reeves will no longer be serving as CTO of NeuroSpark." Gasps rippled through the crowd. My face burned hot under the lights as hundreds of eyes turned toward me. "In today's fast-moving tech world, we need fresh perspectives," Marcus continued. "Dr. Reeves has made contributions, but her methods are outdated. At 48, it's difficult to keep up with cutting-edge innovations." The room blurred around me. Had he really just called me old, on stage, in front of everyone? I maintained my composure, nodding politely as if this wasn't a total ambush. As I walked off stage, Marcus's voice followed me. "Please welcome our new CTO, Aidan Parker." The crowd erupted in applause while I disappeared into the shadows, my jaw clenched tight. Security waited for me backstage. 2 guards with apologetic expressions escorted me to my office, or what used to be my office. The door was already labeled with Aidan's name, a 29-year-old who had joined the company just 8 months ago. "We need your badge and laptop," one guard said softly. I handed over my company ID without argument. My personal belongings had been packed into a cardboard box. 3 years of work reduced to a sad collection of coffee mugs and family photos. As they walked me to my car, I noticed people watching from windows. Some former colleagues quickly looked away. Others had the decency to appear shocked. Nobody spoke up. At home, I poured a glass of wine and stared at the wall. The humiliation burned worse than the betrayal. I had known something was off for weeks. The whispers that stopped when I entered rooms, the meetings I wasn't invited to. But a public firing based on my age? That was a new low. I opened my home safe and pulled out a leather portfolio. Inside was a document with NeuroSpark's original incorporation papers. My finger traced the fine print on page 17, where a special provision lay hidden in legal jargon. A thin smile crossed my face. Marcus had forgotten one critical detail about the company he now controlled. 5 years ago, I sold my first startup for enough money to never work again. But innovation was in my blood, so I became an angel investor. I funded promising projects while staying anonymous through a network of shell companies and trusts. Neural Path Holdings, Eastern Bay Ventures, Reeves Family Trust, all my creations, all leading back to me. I never wanted credit, just the thrill of building something revolutionary. When I met Marcus at a tech incubator, he had energy and vision, but no capital. His AI concept was brilliant but unrefined. He needed someone who understood both the technology and business sides, and plenty of cash to get started. I could have simply invested, but I wanted my hands in the code. So I made him an offer. I would help him get funding through some investment groups I knew, but also join as CTO. He agreed eagerly, never asking enough questions about my investor connections. We signed papers, giving my shell companies controlling interest in NeuroSpark, but I included a clause preventing him from connecting these entities to me. I wanted our work relationship to feel equal, not like I was his boss. For 3 years, it worked perfectly. Until Marcus started believing his own press. Until he decided that having a middle-aged woman as the face of his technical team didn't fit the image he wanted to project. Now, looking at these documents, I knew I had options. I just needed to decide how thoroughly I wanted to destroy what I had helped build. The morning after my public humiliation, news headlines screamed, "NeuroSpark dumps CTO, too old at 48, and age discrimination allegations rock tech darling." My phone exploded with messages from colleagues, friends, and reporters seeking comment. I said nothing. Instead, I watched NeuroSpark's stock take a small hit before stabilizing. Of course it stabilized. The product I'd built was still brilliant, even if I wasn't there. My lawyer, Victoria, arrived at my house carrying stacks of folders. "This is textbook age discrimination," she said, spreading documents across my kitchen table. "We can file tomorrow." "Not yet," I replied, I need to check something first. I booted up my personal laptop and opened a secure cloud drive. There, I had archived every email, every contract, every line of code I'd written for NeuroSpark. But most importantly, I pulled up the executive communications from the past 3 months. Look at this thread, I told Victoria, pointing to an email chain. Marcus to Aiden, once we move Elena out, we can implement those changes we discussed. Her old school approach is holding us back. Victoria smiled coldly. This is gold. But why wait on the lawsuit? I closed the laptop. Because a lawsuit only gets me money. I want something more valuable. What's that? She asked. Justice, I said simply. And control. While NeuroSpark celebrated their product launch, I made my first move. I contacted 5 senior engineers who had expressed concerns about my firing. We met at a quiet coffee shop away from the tech district. The algorithm they're using for the neural network is mine, I explained. The foundation code is still my architecture. Raj, the lead database engineer, nodded. Everyone knows that. Aiden's just putting fancy packaging on your work. Has he made changes to the core algorithm? I asked. Sarah, our security specialist, laughed. He tried. Broke the whole system. They had to roll back to your version. I smiled. I need inside information, not anything confidential, just public stuff I might miss. They exchanged glances. Finally, Raj spoke. We're all updating our resumes anyway. What do you need? I told them about a small vulnerability I had intentionally left in the system. A backdoor only I knew about. Nothing malicious, just a way to monitor usage patterns. When they try to modify Section 12 of the code, they'll hit a wall, I explained. I need to know when that happens. Before we parted, Sarah handed me a flash drive. Internal messages from the leadership team. Thought you might find them interesting. I raised an eyebrow. How did you get these? She shrugged. Let's just say their password security is as outdated as they think you are. The flash drive contained exactly what I needed. Evidence that Marcus had planned my removal for months. Even better, there were messages about modifying the AI's core functions to collect user data without explicit consent. A clear violation of our privacy policy and possibly illegal. With this information, I called a discreet meeting with Julian West, one of NeuroSpark's original angel investors. We met at his lake house, away from prying eyes. I'm confused, Julian said after I explained the situation. You're saying you control most of NeuroSpark's stock through these holding companies? 51%, I confirmed. The shares are distributed across several entities to avoid disclosure requirements. Marcus never knew they all lead back to me. Julian whistled. So you could call a shareholder vote and oust him right now? I could, I agreed, but that would be too easy. I showed him the messages about the privacy violations. His face darkened. This could tank the company if it gets out. Exactly. That's why we need to work carefully. I don't want to destroy NeuroSpark. I want to save it from Marcus. Julian studied me. What's your plan? First, I'm starting a new company, I said, and I'd like you to be an investor. What's it called? He asked. Greywave Technologies, I replied. Because experience isn't outdated, it's valuable. I rented a small office space and began recruiting quietly. Within 2 weeks, I had 10 former NeuroSpark employees ready to join Greywave. Each person I hired had 2 things in common: exceptional talent and age over 40. Meanwhile, my inside sources reported trouble at NeuroSpark. Customer complaints were pouring in about system glitches. The leadership team was working nights trying to fix bugs in the code. The bugs that appeared exactly when they tried modifying Section 12, just as I had predicted. Raj sent me a message. Aiden's blaming the maintenance team. Says they don't understand his advanced architecture. Everyone knows he's the one who broke it. I felt a twinge of guilt about the customers caught in the crossfire, but reminded myself this was temporary. The system wasn't dangerous, just frustratingly glitchy. That evening, I received an unexpected call from Diane Myers, NeuroSpark's head of HR, who had always been fair to me. Elena, we need to talk, she said, voice tight with stress. Things are falling apart here. Marcus is making rash decisions, and Aiden is in over his head. That sounds difficult, I replied neutrally. I know what they did to you was wrong, she continued. But the company's suffering. Could you consult? Just to fix the immediate problems? I allowed myself a small smile. I'm afraid I've started a new venture, but send my best to Marcus. Greywave's office buzzed with energy. We were building something new, an AI platform similar to Neurospark's, but with crucial improvements. My team understood the flaws in our previous work and how to fix them. The interface needs to be more intuitive, I told our design team, and privacy has to be baked into every level. While we worked, I kept tabs on Neurospark. Their stock had dropped 15% since the launch as technical problems multiplied. The business press was starting to ask questions about product stability. My lawyer had quietly filed complaints with the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission about age discrimination. We weren't pursuing a lawsuit yet, just creating a paper trail. Then I received a text from Sarah. They're planning to push a major update tonight. They think they've fixed the issues. I knew they hadn't. The backdoor I created wasn't just a simple bug. It was integrated throughout the system architecture. Any significant change would trigger cascading failures unless they completely rebuilt the foundation. That night, I watched Neurospark servers crash in real time as they deployed their fix. Customer dashboards went dark. Data processing halted. By morning, their support lines were flooded. Marcus issued a press statement blaming legacy code issues, essentially blaming me without naming me. I forwarded the statement to Victoria with a simple note: add this to the file. The trap was closing, but I needed to be patient. 2 weeks after the failed update, Neurospark's biggest client, Global Finance Group, publicly announced they were reviewing their contract due to ongoing service issues. Their stock dropped another 20%. My sources reported panic in the executive suite. Marcus was shouting at developers, demanding they fix problems they didn't understand. Aiden was drowning, unable to comprehend the complex architecture I had built. That afternoon, I received an email from Marcus himself. Subject line: "We need to talk." I read his message with growing amusement. No apology, just desperation barely disguised as a business proposition. He wanted to bring me on as a consultant to address certain technical challenges. I let him stew for 6 hours before responding. "I'm fully committed to my new venture. Perhaps you could try hiring someone younger with fresh perspectives?" His reply came within minutes. "Name your price." I closed my laptop without answering. Money wasn't what I wanted. The next day, I approved Greywave's first press release. We didn't mention Neurospark, but we did emphasize our experienced leadership team with over 200 combined years in AI development. Industry publications picked it up immediately, noting that Greywave was staffed largely by former Neurospark talent. By evening, 3 more Neurospark employees had sent their resumes to my inbox. A month after my firing, I received a confidential tip that Neurospark's board had called an emergency meeting. My source, a board member who owed me a favor, set me the agenda. Item 1. Leadership concerns. Perfect timing. I activated the next phase of my plan. Using my investment firms, I began quietly purchasing Neurospark stock as the price continued to fall. With each transaction, I strengthened my majority position while keeping my identity hidden behind my network of companies. Meanwhile, Greywave announced our first product, an AI system for financial analysis that addressed the exact pain points Neurospark's clients had been complaining about. We opened a limited beta test, inviting select companies to try our platform for free. By noon, Global Finance Group had signed up. Marcus must have found out because he called me directly that evening. I let it go to voicemail. His message was a strange mix of threats and pleading. "You can't just poach our clients. I know what you're doing. Please call me back." I didn't call him back. Instead, I finalized the paperwork for my various holding companies to call for a special shareholder meeting. The topic: a vote on Neurospark's leadership. When I finally fell asleep that night, I dreamed of standing on that conference stage again. But this time, I was the one making announcements. The shareholder meeting was set for Friday, 3 days away. My legal team had prepared extensive documentation showing Marcus's mismanagement and the company's declining performance. More importantly, we had clear evidence of his discriminatory practices. "You'll control the vote," Victoria confirmed, reviewing our strategy. "But we should be prepared for Marcus to fight." "He'll fight," I agreed, "but he doesn't know who he's fighting yet." That afternoon, an investigative tech blog published a damaging article. "Neurospark's privacy problem. Is your data being harvested?" The piece detailed how the company's AI system was collecting personal information without proper disclosure. Exactly what I had discovered on Sarah's flash drive. I hadn't leaked the story, but I wasn't surprised by it. When a company culture becomes toxic, secrets start to escape. That evening, I received a call from Aidan Parker, my replacement. His voice sounded strained. "Dr. Reeves, I didn't know about the plan to remove you," he stammered. "Marcus told me the position was opening because you were retiring." I remained silent, letting him squirm. "The system is failing," he continued desperately. "I can't fix it. Please help us." "Us?" I asked calmly. "Or you?" On Thursday, the day before the shareholder meeting, chaos erupted at NeuroSpark. 2 board members resigned, citing ethical concerns. The privacy scandal was growing, with 3 state attorneys general announcing investigations. Global Finance Group officially terminated their contract. That afternoon, Marcus held a press conference attempting damage control. He looked exhausted, with dark circles under his eyes and a slight tremor in his hands. "We take these allegations seriously," he insisted to skeptical reporters. "But I want to emphasize that any data collection was inadvertent. We're implementing fixes immediately." When asked about the system failures, he blamed integration issues with legacy components, once again implying my work was the problem. A reporter shouted from the back, "Is it true your former CTO is starting a competing company staffed with your former employees?" Marcus's face tightened. "No comment on personnel matters." Another question hit harder. "Sources say you fired Dr. Reeves because of her age. Any response to that?" "Absolutely not," he snapped. "Our company values diversity in all forms." I watched the livestream with my team, who booed at his answer. I remained quiet, focused on tomorrow's meeting. Later that night, Julian called with news. "Marcus is trying to rally support from other investors. He's claiming you're orchestrating a hostile takeover." I laughed softly. "It's not hostile when you already own the company." "He doesn't know that yet," Julian reminded me. "He will tomorrow," I promised. Friday morning arrived crisp and clear. I dressed carefully in a tailored navy suit, professional, powerful, but not flashy. Today wasn't about showing off, it was about taking back what was mine. The shareholder meeting was held at NeuroSpark's headquarters, the building I had helped design. As I walked through the lobby, employees stopped and stared. Some looked confused, others hopeful. Word had spread that something big was happening. In the boardroom, Marcus sat at the head of the table, flanked by attorneys. His confident smile faltered when I walked in. He clearly hadn't expected me to attend in person. "Dr. Reeves," he said, recovering quickly, "this is a closed meeting for shareholders and their representatives." "I'm well aware," I replied, taking a seat directly across from him. "I'm here representing several major shareholders." He frowned, confusion crossing his face. The other board members and investors filed in, filling the large room. Julian nodded slightly from his seat, hiding a smile. Marcus called the meeting to order, his voice artificially bright. "We have a strange agenda item today, a vote on leadership changes. This was called by a group of shareholders, but I want to assure everyone that the company is on solid footing despite some temporary setbacks." I waited patiently as he rambled about vision and weathering storms. When he finally paused, I raised my hand. "I believe it's time to identify who called this meeting," I said calmly. "The meeting was called by Neural Path Holdings, Eastern Bay Ventures, and the Reeves Family Trust," I announced. The room went silent. Together, these entities control 51% of NeuroSpark shares. Marcus laughed nervously. "And you're representing these investment groups?" "Not exactly," I replied, sliding a document across the table. "I own them." The board members began murmuring as Marcus snatched the paper. His face went from confused to pale as he read. "This can't be right," he stammered. "You're saying you own the majority of NeuroSpark?" "I funded this company from the beginning," I explained, addressing the entire room. "I chose to keep my investment roles separate from my operational role as CTO. I wanted my work to stand on its own merits." One board member, a venture capitalist named Richard, looked impressed. "So you've been the mystery investor all along? The one who put up the initial $8 million? I nodded. "I believed in the vision. I still do. But I don't believe in the current leadership." Marcus's attorney whispered urgently in his ear. His face had gone from pale to flushed red. "This is some kind of trick," he insisted. "You can't just come in here and—" "It's all perfectly legal," Victoria interjected, distributing copies of the ownership documentation to everyone present. "And now Dr. Reeves would like to call the vote she is entitled to as majority shareholder." The vote was quick and decisive. With my shares alone, I had enough to remove Marcus as CEO. But I wanted the board's support, so I presented the evidence of his mismanagement. The failed product launch, the privacy violations, the plummeting stock price, and the documentation of age discrimination. When Julian and 2 other board members also voted against Marcus, his fate was sealed. He sat in stunned silence as the company secretary recorded the results. "Effective immediately," I announced, "Marcus Devlin is removed as Chief Executive Officer of NeuroSpark." He finally found his voice. "You planned this from the beginning," he accused, pointing a shaking finger at me. "You sabotaged the system after you left." "I didn't sabotage anything," I replied calmly. "I built that system, every line of code. The fact that you and Aiden couldn't maintain it speaks volumes." The room grew uncomfortably quiet. Marcus gathered his papers, knocking over a water glass in his haste. "You'll be hearing from my lawyers," he threatened. "I look forward to it," I said. "I have plenty of documentation about your comments regarding my age and how it affected your decision to remove me." After he stormed out, the board turned to me expectantly. Richard broke the silence. "So, Dr. Reeves, are you planning to take over as CEO?" I smiled. "Actually, I have a different proposal. I didn't want to be CEO of NeuroSpark. My new company, Graywave, was building something better, something ethically sound from the ground up. What I wanted was justice and a business opportunity. I propose a merger between NeuroSpark and Graywave Technologies," I told the board. "Graywave has developed solutions to the exact problems plaguing NeuroSpark's platform. Together, we can quickly stabilize the situation and restore client confidence." The board members listened intently as I outlined the plan. Graywave would absorb NeuroSpark's assets and take on their best talent. We would honor all existing client contracts and fix the technical issues within 30 days. "And the name?" Julian asked. "Graywave or NeuroSpark?" "Graywave," I said firmly. "NeuroSpark's reputation has been damaged. We need a fresh start." Richard looked skeptical. "This feels like you're using your majority stake to benefit your new company." "I'm using my majority stake to save the technology and jobs that NeuroSpark would otherwise lose," I countered. "The company's value has dropped 60% in 6 weeks. This merger is the best option for all shareholders." After 2 hours of discussion and negotiation, the board agreed to the merger in principle, pending final details and shareholder approval. As the meeting adjourned, Richard approached me privately. "That was impressive," he admitted. "Brutal, but impressive," I smiled. "Sometimes experience gives you an edge that youth simply can't match." News of Marcus's removal and the pending merger spread quickly. NeuroSpark's stock jumped 12% by market close, the first positive movement in weeks. Technology blogs buzzed with speculation about what really happened. I returned to Graywave's office to share the news with my team. They greeted me with cheers and applause. "We're not just merging companies," I told them. "We're creating something better than either company could be alone. And we're proving that experience matters." While we celebrated, my phone buzzed with a text from Diane, the HR director. "Aiden just quit, cleaned out his desk, and left without a word." I wasn't surprised. Being the replacement who couldn't handle the job was a tough position. Part of me felt sorry for him. He had been a pawn in Marcus's game. That evening, I sat down for an interview with TechBite, a respected industry publication. The reporter asked straightforward questions about the merger, which I answered transparently. Then came the personal questions. "Do you feel vindicated after being publicly fired for supposedly being too old for innovation?" I chose my words carefully. "I feel that merit and capability should determine a person's value, not their age. Silicon Valley has a problem with ageism, and it costs companies talented people every day." "What would you say to Marcus Devlin now?" I smiled. "I'd say that underestimating people is a dangerous business strategy." The next week was a whirlwind of activity. Legal teams finalized the merger documents while our engineers began integrating systems. I split my time between resolving NeuroSpark's technical issues and guiding Greywave's development. We reached out to Global Finance Group and other clients who had left NeuroSpark, explaining the leadership changes and technical improvements. Many expressed interest in returning once the platform stabilized. Meanwhile, Marcus had gone silent. No lawsuit materialized. Likely because his attorneys advised against it, given the evidence we had. The privacy violation investigations continued, but we were cooperating fully and implementing fixes. On Wednesday morning, Raj and I were reviewing code when Sarah burst into the conference room. "You need to see this," she said, pulling up a news site on the screen. The headline read, "Exclusive, former NeuroSpark CEO starting new venture." The article detailed Marcus's plan to launch a competing AI platform called FutureRise, with Aidan Parker as CTO. "They're claiming they'll have a product in 3 months," Sarah said. "That's impossible unless they're stealing our code." I scanned the article, stopping at a quote from Marcus. "FutureRise won't be held back by outdated thinking or legacy approaches. We're building for tomorrow, not yesterday." I couldn't help but laugh. He still doesn't get it. Raj looked worried. "Should we be concerned about competition?" "No," I said confidently. "Let them try. Building what we've built takes more than flashy presentations and promises." The official merger announcement was met with positive market reaction. Greywave stock, which now included converted NeuroSpark shares, rose steadily as we shared our technical roadmap and demonstrated the improved platform. 1 month after taking control, we invited clients to our headquarters for a demonstration. The system ran flawlessly, showing enhanced features and rock-solid stability. Global Finance Group signed a new 3-year contract on the spot. After the clients left, I found a quiet moment in my old office, now my new office again. The view of the city skyline was just as I remembered it. My nameplate on the door read, "Dr. Elena Reeves, Chief Technology Officer and Founder." Julian knocked and entered, carrying a newspaper. "Thought you might want to see this," he said, handing it to me. The business section featured an analysis of FutureRise's prospects. Investors were skeptical of Marcus's ability to deliver after NeuroSpark's collapse under his leadership. The reporter had contacted several engineers who declined to join his new venture, citing concerns about his management style. "He's struggling to hire anyone with real AI experience," Julian added. "Word has spread about how he treated you and the other older engineers." I set the paper aside. "I don't wish him failure. I just want our industry to value substance over style, experience over youth." Julian nodded. "Speaking of which, we've received over 200 applications from engineers over 40 since your Tech Bite interview went viral." I smiled. "Let's hire the best ones." 6 months after the merger, Greywave hosted an industry conference focused on ethical AI development. I gave the keynote address to a packed auditorium, focusing on privacy, accountability, and the value of diverse perspectives, including age diversity. "The next breakthrough won't come from just chasing youth," I told the audience. "It will come from combining fresh ideas with hard-earned wisdom." The applause was thunderous. Afterward, a line of attendees waited to speak with me. Young developers seeking mentorship, older engineers grateful for representation, and investors interested in our approach. Among them was a familiar face, Aidan Parker. He looked nervous, hanging back until the crowd thinned. "Dr. Reeves," he said when we finally spoke, "I owe you an apology." "For what specifically?" I asked. He swallowed hard. "For taking your position, for believing I could handle it, for not speaking up when Marcus made those comments about your age." I studied him carefully. His remorse seemed genuine. "What happened with FutureRise?" I asked, though I already knew from industry reports that the company had failed to secure adequate funding. "It's gone," he admitted. "Marcus couldn't deliver what he promised. I couldn't build what you had built." I nodded, understanding his unspoken request. "Send your resume to HR. I can't promise anything, but we're always looking for talent, especially talent that's learned from mistakes." 1 year after my public firing, Greywave had become one of the fastest-growing tech companies in the sector. Our market value had tripled. The privacy investigations into NeuroSpark's old practices had been resolved with minimal fines due to our prompt corrective actions. Marcus had largely disappeared from the tech scene after FutureRise failed to launch. Last I heard, he was working for a small development shop in another state. Aiden had indeed joined Greywave, though not in a leadership role. To his credit, he worked hard and learned eagerly. Sometimes youth need guidance more than replacement. My assistant approached with an envelope. "This just arrived for you," hand-delivered. Inside was a brief note from Marcus. "You won. I was wrong. I'm sorry." No signature, but I recognized his handwriting. I tucked the note into my pocket, feeling neither triumph nor bitterness, just closure. "Are you ready for the board meeting?" my assistant asked. I nodded. Time to talk about our future. The board meeting focused on our expansion plans. Greywave was opening a research center dedicated to AI ethics and accessibility, ensuring our technology would benefit people of all ages and abilities. "We've earmarked $20 million for the first phase," I explained, "and we're partnering with universities to create internships specifically for mid-career professionals transitioning into tech." The board unanimously approved the initiative. After the meeting, Julian pulled me aside. "Tech World magazine wants to feature you in their Innovators Redefining Tech issue," he said. "They specifically mentioned your stance against ageism." I hesitated. While our work was changing industry perceptions, I had always preferred to keep a low profile. "This isn't just about you anymore," Julian pointed out, sensing my reluctance. "You've become a symbol for a lot of people who felt pushed aside because of their age." "Tell them I'll do it," I decided. The resulting cover story, "The Gray Wave: How Experience is Disrupting Tech's Youth Obsession," sparked conversations throughout the industry. Our approach was no longer seen as unusual, but increasingly recognized as advantageous. When a reporter asked me if I felt I had disrupted Silicon Valley's culture, I answered honestly, "I hope so. Any culture that dismisses wisdom while chasing youth is limiting its own potential." 2 years after the merger, I stood on the same stage where I had once been publicly fired. The annual Tech Vision conference had invited me to deliver the closing address. The irony wasn't lost on me or the audience. 2 years ago on this stage, I was told I was too old to keep up with innovation, I began. Today, I lead a company valued at $4 billion, building technology that our competitors are still trying to catch. The crowd applauded as I continued. I outlined Greywave's success metrics, our growth, our ethical standards, our diverse team that ranged from recent graduates to engineers in their 60s. The data spoke for itself. When we talk about disruption in tech, we're usually referring to products or services. But the most important disruption happening right now is in how we value human capital. After my speech, a young developer approached me. "I'm 25, he said. "And for the first time, I'm not afraid of getting older in this industry." His comment stayed with me long after the conference ended. The fear of aging out of relevance was so deeply ingrained in tech culture that even the young lived in its shadow. We weren't just building better AI, we were building a better future for everyone in technology. 3 years to the day after my firing, I announced my transition from CTO to chairperson of Greywave. The company had grown beyond my daily operational capacity, and it was time to elevate talented leaders. My replacement as CTO was Sarah, the security specialist who had helped expose NeuroSpark's problems. At 43, she brought both technical brilliance and ethical clarity to the role. I gestured to our executive team, standing nearby, diverse in age, gender, and background. Greywave exists because we rejected the false choice between innovation and experience. We don't succeed despite having older engineers. We succeed because we value every perspective. After the camera stopped rolling, an industry veteran I admired approached me. "You've changed things," she said simply. "Not everywhere, not completely, but it's starting." I smiled, thinking of all the roads that had led to this moment. The humiliation, the planning, the rebuilding, and finally the transformation. "It's a start," I agreed, "and that's enough." 5 years after that painful day under the spotlight, I stood in Greywave's expanded headquarters, watching new employees explore the campus. Our company had grown to over 1,000 team members, with offices in 4 countries. Our AI platforms set industry standards for both performance and ethics. I spotted Aiden giving a tour to recent hires. He had grown into a solid development lead, mentoring younger programmers while respecting the wisdom of older colleagues. The experience had changed him as much as it had changed our industry. My phone buzzed with a news alert. Another tech giant had announced a commitment to age-balanced hiring practices. Small victories continued to accumulate across Silicon Valley as more companies recognized the value of experience. A young intern passed by my open door and hesitated. "Dr. Reeves, I just wanted to say thank you. My mom was pushed out of tech at 44. She's back now because of companies like yours." I smiled and nodded. Sometimes the most powerful code we write isn't in our programs, but in how we rewrite the rules that define our future.